Alright, so 2026's watch release calendar is a minefield of anniversaries that are hyped beyond any dealer's wildest fantasy. The crux of this situation is, how do you separate true gems from the sly limited edition ploys? So we're going to dissect the confirmed models, peeling back the precious metal exteriors and the anniversary spectacles. Then we're going to be looking into the unconfirmed releases this year, checking manufacturing capabilities, production limitations, and the brand's historical release patterns. This isn't about buying into the stories that are flooding your feeds right now. It's about equipping yourself with the raw truth, not the social media illusion. We're going to kick this off where the guessing game dies. Watches that you can actually snag and scrutinize against their bold tech boasts. Seiko's 145th anniversary lineup is going to scatter 4 movements across 4 different lines, each waving a heritage flag via caliber picks and finishing flair. Do these movements warrant the limited run price tag, or is the anniversary hype just inflating the costs that outpace real build merit? Take the SPB 537 Française. White enamel from Mitsuru Yokosawa's forge, blasted through repeated high heat firings. Flaws that have been scraped out by hand for that glossy perfection. Nodding to the 1895 Timekeeper's pocket watch, it sports skinny blued steel hands bent manually towards the dial, injecting that old school Euro stiffness. The 6R5H caliber hums at 21,600 vibrations per hour with a 72-hour power reserve crammed into a 46 by 35.9 millimeter tonneau case at 12.5 millimeters thick. So what's the baseline price? 1,650 euros, and this one isn't a limited edition run. Then the SPB 538 twist, 1,450 pieces at 2,000 euros, swapping to a 6R51 in a smaller 35mm gold case with movable lugs and an onion crown, echoing those pocket watch conversions. Dial art trumps movement muscle here, with the enamel firing process justifying some of that premium bump. Flip to the Prospex SRQ-059, unleashing the 8R4A chronograph with a vertical clutch and column wheel setup. It's capped at 700 pieces, and it flexes Seiko's knack for mechanical smarts on a budget. Vertical clutch means silkier chrono action over the clunky lateral ones, and the column wheel nails the crisp start-stops. That's some tangible tech separating it from the cheap cam pushers. Now enter the King Seiko KS1969 SJE121, with the 6L35 caliber in 800 pieces at 3,200 euro. This 28,800 vibrations per hour 26 jewel beast sits between Grand Seiko's Elite 9 series polish and the vanilla Seiko assembly lines. The gray gradient dial flaunts textures harkening back to the vintage vibes, but the 45-hour power reserve and finish are going to beg the question against the price spike. Seriously, does the 6L35 earn twice the SPB 537's 6R5H tab when both serve time-only functions? So now we got Credor's Goldfeather GC-BY991 fighting back with its wafer-thin 1.98mm 6890 manual wind, ticking at 21,600 vibrations per hour on a 37-hour power reserve. The Imari Nabeshima porcelain dial undergoes 5 firings at Hadama Torrent, the layering stacked pre- and post-glaze for those subtle blue fades and feather motifs, with ethereal transparent feathers floating over the glaze for depth, all at hair-splitting precision. The dial itself has been shaved down to about 1mm thick. With only 60 pieces at 15,000 euro, real scarcity shines through with a sub 2mm movement plus the artisanal dial labor. Oris's Year of the Horse unleashes the Caliber 113 with its 10-day power reserve and 88 pieces at $8,000 per unit. It's hand-wound at 21,600 vibrations per hour with 38 joules. It packs a non-linear power indicator via custom worm gear, plus a business calendar complication with 52-week calendar ring. That countdown gauge, pure engineering grit. We're talking a mainspring barrel optimization and gear train efficiency that crush standard 3-day movements. The dark brown shell Cordova strap, it's actual horsehide, grounding the theme in raw tactile truth beyond symbolic decorations. These confirmed drops set the bar. 8R48's column wheel precision, 6890's razor-thin profile, the Caliber 113's worm gear-driven smarts. All quantifiable wins. Enamel and porcelain dials layer on artisanal value that earns the markup via kiln fires and handwork. Yokosawa's enamel glow slaps back at mass-produced luxury, proving value boils up from firing kilns and hand-bent steel, not some marketing spent. Gauge the anniversary drops by movement bones and finish depth, not some scarcity stunts. So Tag Heuer and Omega show how the big dogs slap anniversary skins on battle-tested calibers. We're going to be probing if the cultural flair packs real punch, or is it just jacking up the price on yesterday's stock with some scarcity stickers. Tag's Carrera Year of the Firehorse cloaks the TH20-07 in a 39mm glass box case. spiking it with red gold dial pops and a horse glyph on the date wheel. Capped at 250 pieces for €8,100, this golden champagne sunray dial gleams with rose gold indices and a fiery red chronograph seconds hand. At the 9 o'clock, the date swaps the 7 for the Chinese horse character, while the caseback etches a charging steed. It seals everything with a 7-row beads of rice bracelet channeling the 1940s designs. The TH2007 marks TAG's homegrown movement after the Heuer 02 era, an auto-integrated chronograph at 28,800 vibrations per hour with a column wheel and vertical clutch for that crisp actuation and silky hand glide. Plus, it has an 80-hour power reserve via the bidirectional shield rotor. These are solid specs that ditch cam alternatives for genuine chronograph specs. Yet this fire horse, it really doesn't add anything to the tech, just dial doodles and bracelet bling. It's the same TH2007 movement as the vanilla Carrera, so does the Zodiac theme and beads of rice bracelet earn that €8,100 when performance mirrors the rest of the collection? We're staring at cultural costume over mechanical evolution with a premium pin to the theme, not advancement. Omega's Speedmaster Moonwatch Black and White flips the 3861 master chronometer into steel at €10,200 or 18-karat moonshine gold at €48,600. The black ceramic bezels bear white enamel tack scales, step dials mix polished black lacquer tops with white subdial sinks for that reverse panda look. Steel gets rhodium hands and markers with white superluminova. Gold is going to opt for the moonshine hands, markers, and a PVD central chronograph hand. Now both are riding the Nixon-style brush polish bracelets with that 20 to 15 millimeter taper and striped folding clasp, blending ergonomic ease and stark dial aesthetics. The 3861 evolves the manual wine chronograph legacy with METAS certification. Coaxial escapements cut friction for lasting accuracy. The silicon springs shrug off 15,000 Gauss magnets, and you're going to get that 0 to plus 5 seconds daily precision under magnetic fields, which trumps the old 1861 cost baseline. Now these are legitimate leaps, not just some lipstick. Then we have the Milano Cortina 2026 Speedmaster 38mm with its blue frost dial over the 3330 auto chrono at 5,300 Swiss francs. The Olympic tie-in packs a column wheel auto with the coaxial and silicon spring for a 52-hour reserve and costs -4 to +6 daily. But you're not going to get any METAS though. They saved that one for the Moonwatch Elites. The date flashes the Milano Cortina script, begging the question, does branding actually boost horological value or does it just commemorate a business handshake? So the TAG's TH20-07 shines competent, but it's theme wrapped. Omega's 3861 brings a true caliber glow up with the METAS muscle. But the Milano Cortina exposes Omega's tiering top tech for top shelves. So the Nautilus 50th rumors spotlight the clash between drooling collectors and Patek's ironclad production walls, where smart plays decide if a release is actually going to materialize or it's going to stay as a dealer's daydreams stoked by flipper frenzy. The Nautilus burst onto the scene in 1976 with the 3700 1A kickstarting Patek's sporty elite streak via Gerard Genta's seamless bracelet and those signature horizontal dial grooves. It was shipped in a plain cork box, which contrasted with the watch's revolutionary design. Come 2026, fans are salivating for a half-century nod. Maybe it's going to be a Platinum 5811P or some wild dial twist. But Patek's anniversary track record leans towards selective. Think retailer partnerships or exhibitions over mass drops. The Milan Grand Exhibition in October 2026 might be plausible, mirroring their habit of dropping bombs at big bashes. A real 50th anniversary tribute? It would have to nail Genta's original 31.1mm dial proportions. Now that's going to be a challenge that separates the true nods from lazy reinterpretations. Does Patek's output muscle and game plan back a fresh Nautilus reference? Or do they pivot to a scarce shop special that hoards the mystique without bloating the catalog? Now, Stern axing the steel 5711 at hype peak was cold-blooded chess. Plotted ages ahead to squash social media insanity and gray market gouging. Now, Patek, they steer by deliberate scarcity, not knee-jerk greed. So, any 5811P will stem from long-brewed cycles around the 26330 architecture and not a reaction to hype. Now, Patek's Caliber factory churns out the 26330 automatic family and the 240 Ultra Thin series, stacking complications on these solid bases. Neither caliber really needs a redesign, so Patek would focus on cases and dials and not reinventing the movement. The clues here, they all point to a Nautilus 50th as a limited retailer edition or an exhibition piece, probably using the existing 26330 in a precious metal with a distinctive dial work, not a broadly available model. The Nautilus has been morphed into a status piece regardless of the metal it's forged from. and you better believe that Patek is gonna maintain that status. Rolex's Oyster case crashed the party in 1926 as the OG waterproof wristwatch case, teeing up 2026 for a century milestone. But Rolex's tight-lipped anniversary vibe and factory grind scream hold the confetti. They built their reputation on the sealed case architecture and screw-down crown, birthing the airtight blueprint for every modern wristwatch. A 100th screams for commemorative reference, yet Rolex's track record, barely a whisper for big birthdays, opting for quiet tweaks over any kind of commemorative theater. An Oyster 100th, it'd have to shine real technical innovation like a Dynapulse escapement, an anti-magnetic advancement that earns the hype through engineering chops and not just a cosmetic tribute. Rolex's factory can pump out 3230s and 3235 automatics and the 4130 chronographs, favoring steady upgrades over revolutionary new calibers. So a centennial drop? Probably slapping an existing movement into fresh cases or dials as Rolex funnels its R&D into honing current calibers. That's Rolex obsessing over nitty-gritty wins, ditching marketing spectacle for depth. Now the rumor, it boils down to, does Rolex chase centennial cash by messing with the lines, or does it stick to scarcity scripts that dodge market meltdowns? Production bottlenecks boxes them in. With vertically integrated manufacturing, everything is running red hot, and the core model wait lists are screaming as it is, so a limited anniversary edition would only exacerbate this problem. In-house movements, cases, bracelets, dials, it's a chain where one snag stalls everything. Rolex really can't spike its output without quality taking a dive, or they're going to have to invest in factory infrastructure. Now, a precious metal dream? You got the same problem here. A platinum Oyster Perpetual, it would take extra finishing time and specialized labor, and Rolex is probably just going to skip that for the short run. All the talk, it hints that Rolex is going to opt for a dial tweak or caseback nod on the standard models. This would allow them to acknowledge the history without creating any kind of wild speculation. Factory facts and Rolex's restraint, it kills the odds for a full Oyster 100th reference. Bet on quiet line lifts or stealth details. They're all in-house empire. Ironically, it handcuffs them for specials like this, as robbing from Peter for Paul trashes their scarcity strategy. The Oyster saga, however, it birthed modern watches, and that's a feat that's bigger than any kind of commemorative gesture. Tudor's Centennial, Breguet's Tourbillon 225th, and those niche anniversaries reveal which bets bank on real factory capabilities versus pie-in-the-sky collector delusions. Tudor is going to hit 100 in 2026. Rolex's scrappy sidekick is increasing in-house movement development via the MT5602, the MT5612, and the MT5813 calibers. Now, if you like the 1970s chronograph roots like the home plate 7031 and the Monte Carlo 7149, that could fuel a heritage revival. Fans have been chomping at the bit for that vintage style, but Tudor's production limits and strategic positioning might put a cap on the fireworks. Now the question is, does Knissi SA produce a new chronograph movement, or does the party wrap the MT5813 with some new cosmetic changes? Now Knissi is Rolex backed, but the chronograph development eats a lot of resources and years. The MT5813, it's already delivering a column wheel and a 70-hour reserve. That's gonna leave little room for any kind of meaningful advancement without years of development already underway. So what about Breguet's Tourbillon 225th? It's definitely more prime for a payoff. They churn out tourbillon calibers galore, with Gregory Kisling steering a tech renaissance. I would bet on an Experimental 2 or a 10 Hz revival. It screams brand DNA and build chops, making this one much more likely. Grand Seiko's Spring Drive GMT 20th? There's another good possibility. They celebrated the 9R's 20th in 2024 with a dial treatment and GMT complication, setting the stage for commemorative releases. I would expect something like a limited edition with optical multi-layer coatings similar to the SPGC 275. Proven tech, no wild swings, just polished perfection on active lines. So what about a Richard Mille 25th or a Cartier Tank Française's 30th? Meh, possibility. RM's already a limited run circus, and anniversary edition, it feels like just another Tuesday for them. Cartier has been pushing the Santos and Tank really hard, and that kind of sidelines the Française, except for tweaks and not really a dedicated anniversary model. Manufacturing capability, it calls the shots on anniversary plausibility. Tudor's anniversary hinges on Knissi's chronograph dev timeline, unlikely, sans some fresh evidence. Breguet's Tourbillon? That's spot on with current production capacity and brand identity. Grand Seiko's GMT? Yeah, that fits their milestone playbook and commemorative precedents. RM and Cartier? Yeah, weak technical and strategic rationale for any kind of dedicated releases. Now, Patek Nautilus's 50th and Rolex's Oyster 100th, they're slammed by capacity crunches. It's going to scream fat chance for any kind of fresh reference. The confirmed drops, they carve out a pretty brutal pecking order. Seiko's 8R48 column wheel chronograph, Credor's razor-thin 1.98mm 6890, Oris's worm gear-driven caliber 113 with that marathon 10-day reserve, and Omega's Metas Muscle 3861. These all pack legit engineering heft that justifies their pricing through movement architecture and finishing complexity. You can vet any anniversary hype by checking if the brand can even build it. You filter speculation through movement manufacturing, production capacity, and brand strategy. And keep in mind, real value isn't in the markup of some limited edition. So seek some true rarity, not some dealer-driven limits. My question to you, what predictions do you have for 2026? Leave a comment and let us know. And if you like this content, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Take care, and I'll see you next time.